The invitation comes first in these banquets in biblical times. The invitation comes, you're going to be invited to this banquet. We're going to tell you when it's ready. And in those days, I guess they didn't have the agenda that we have, you know. We didn't say, well, now I'll pencil that in. I'll pencil in this banquet, you know, like we do now. Take out our date books and write everything down, or on the big calendar on the wall. People were ready to come to a banquet. It was a very, very special thing. And so when the master would get the banquet ready, the servants would go around and say, everything is ready, now come. And this was much more than just a one-day event, you know. It was an ongoing kind of a feast, lasted sometimes 3 or 4 days. So the invitation comes for the people, and they are now called to the banquet. When Jesus talks about a banquet, he's talking about joy. He's talking about life that has meaning. He's talking about enjoying community and understanding that living in community was important. He's talking about nourishing the body and soul. And so it was all those things that Jesus is talking about, not just sitting down to a meal. But the invited guests, the original invited guests, paid no attention when the banquet's ready. They focused on their own stuff. I guess they did have agenda in those days. And some of them even took out evil on the servants who had come to invite them. What was going on there? Well, one of the things that was happening was the building of walls between people. There must have been some issues among these people that Jesus has in the story, just as there are today. I have to tell you that, and I've told some of you this in meetings, but when I was on the clergy committee up in Baldwinville when I first came to Massachusetts, a new person came to one of the churches in town, a new pastor, and it was our intention usually to have one of the officers of the clergy association go and invite this person and to take them to lunch and to tell them about the area and all the wonderful highlights of living in the Baldwinville Gardner area, the sophisticated cosmopolitan community that was up there. And so I went to this person, I introduced myself, and I said, I'd like to take you to lunch. He said, I can't go to lunch with you because I can't pray over the meal with you. We don't agree theologically. And you know, in my own very timid and quiet way, I really didn't know what to say to something like that. I don't remember what I said, and probably I couldn't repeat it in church if I did remember what I said, but those kinds of things were just unbelievable to me. They always have been. I guess I always have been ecumenical in my heart, and although I belong to one denomination, I don't think any denomination has the whole truth. The truth is still out there begging us to follow as best we can. But this is wall building, you know. And our world suffers so much from that. Walls built on economic status or color or religion or all these other things. And in some cases, people make their own fears or their own grudges or what they believe about God, they make that into a doctrine. And they hold it up to everyone else. Like this anonymous pastor I tell you about, and said, I can't go to the banquet with you. I can't pray over the food with you. We don't agree theologically. And if you take that to its ultimate extension, then you have violence that erupts in order to protect one's own way against everyone else. To keep your prejudices pure from other thoughts and other ideas. This parable from Jesus is about God asking the whole world to come to God's table, to share so that all can eat, to love above all else, to find peace and joy, to care for those and heal those who are sick. Jesus calls to all, and Jesus, of course, was rejected and killed. The king rejects those who fail to come. He's talking about God looking at people and saying, if you don't come, there's a big hole made in that place where I expected you to come. There's part of the world's work that won't get done because you won't come. And people will suffer because you won't come in this world. If you will not help, if you will not love, if you will not heal, if you will not share. And so he goes to the people in the street. And these are the people who are on the fringe, the people who feel powerless, the people who didn't get invited to the banquet for whatever reason in the first place. And you know who those people are. They need a banquet. They acknowledge their reliance on the grace of God. They know that without God in their lives, they would have a very difficult time, an impossible time in making their life meaningful. And they have no illusions about self-sufficiency. You know, when we're little children, there are some things that we say, I want to do this myself, Dad. Leave me alone. I want to do this myself. And it's, as parents, moms and dads, grandparents, whatever, we do want to let them do that so that they learn. But you notice when it really gets tough, a child will come to an adult that they trust and say, help me. No reservations. They're not afraid. They come up. I've had children climb in my lap and say, will you please tie my shoe? Kids that know me, but they don't know me really well. And then we grow up, or in some cases grow down, and we say, oh, no, I'm not asking for help. I couldn't possibly ask for help. People would think I'm weak. Have you given up the idea yet that you're not weak? Have you given up the idea that you can do everything by yourself? And that when you do get help, it's a sign of weakness? The sooner we give up those ideas, each one of us, and I'm as guilty as any of you, the better off we will be, and more community will be ours too. But these people with no illusions about self-sufficiency, they go with enthusiasm and expectation. We're going to sit down at a banquet. Who knows what's going to be there for us? It's going to be wonderful. It's going to be great. It's going to be terrific.